こんにちは、私はマイケルです。よろしくお願いします。My name is Michael. I studied at Douglas. I took Japanese here for 2 years, and then I studied abroad through Douglas at Kyoto University of Foreign Studies for a year. So I participated in the Kyoto University of Foreign Studies exchange program. I studied in Kyoto for a year. I went for 2 whole semesters, and the reason I picked it was because I used to study Japanese at Douglas College. I studied Japanese for 4 semesters here, and then that's all the courses we offer here. So after that I wanted to keep studying, and I also made a bunch of friends while I was taking the courses who I wanted to meet in Japan once they had moved back to Japan. So once I saw there was an opportunity to go to Japan actually through Douglas, that was the one that I picked. And so when I went to Japan, now the first time I went was maybe 6 or 7 years ago. So I got to really think about this because the things that were surprising then feel really normal to me now after having been there. But the price of food was very surprising. Eating out is really cheap compared to Vancouver in specific, and groceries are also really cheap, but fruit is insanely expensive comparatively. You get like a watermelon for like 30 bucks. Or like you can, if you go looking for it, you can find $100 little box of grapes. So yeah, that was probably the most surprising thing to me. There were a ton of other like little things, like the kinds of stuff that they sell at convenience stores, the fact that they have all you can drink alcohol when you go out to eat. That's a thing that they would never have here because you would go broke so fast. But you know, they have all kinds of like little things that were really interesting to me that I found surprising. But since I went to Japan for the first time, I've spent a total of 2 years and 3 months there. So a lot of the stuff that was surprising then, I'm a lot more used to now. But obviously there's still things that surprise me and things that are new all the time, anytime I go back or anytime I'm interacting with people even from Japan. Eventually, I received academic credit for the programs I took. Originally, when I was studying abroad, I didn't go with the intent to transfer things back to Douglas. I had already mostly finished everything I was doing, and then I just wanted the experience, so I didn't need it. But after I finished studying at Douglas, I went to a university in my home province of Nova Scotia. And while I was studying there, I was able to transfer my credits from the Kyoto University of Foreign Studies where I was at. I was able to take, I think, 9 or 12 credits from that university and use them in my studies later on. So I did use them, just I didn't use them at Douglas. So my favorite part about studying abroad was probably just, since I was in Japan and I love Japan, every day was interesting to me. So if I was going to the convenience store, or if I was going grocery shopping, or just like meeting up with friends and going to a restaurant, everything was new and interesting to me. And especially because I was speaking a second language, I was speaking Japanese everywhere I went with my friends, with people at shops, all that kind of stuff. That was all practice to me, that was all interesting to me. So literally my favorite part was just being there the whole time and being able to experience new things every day and do everything that I might normally do in a new language, so everything's fresh and new all the time. But yeah, obviously I like making new friends and sightseeing and learning as much language as I was able to while I was there. That was all super fun, but just overall the experience of everything being new all the time is really unique, I think. And it's something you can only get when you're immersed somewhere else abroad. I was a student, I didn't have any money. But before I went, I did get some funding from Douglas. That helped a lot. That helped me get there in the first place. If I didn't have any, I wouldn't have been able to go at all. But once I was there, since I was there for so long, I thought it would be helpful if I worked a little bit, so I got some part-time jobs throughout my time there. And that was actually super fun for a lot of different reasons. I was able to meet people, I was able to make a little extra money, And I was also able to like practice my Japanese ability while I was there, because the amount of Japanese that you need when you're working versus the amount of Japanese that you need when you're just in class is very different. And the kind of Japanese that you use is really different. But yeah, I was able to do that. I was still pretty poor the whole time, even though I was doing it, but that's the student life. That was my student life at least, so it wasn't too big of a challenge in the end. I solved it, I figured it out. So when I was in Kyoto, because I didn't have any money, I worked at a couple different places. One was at a Japanese inn. I helped clean up. Me and my brother both went there and we would clean the rooms, set them up for guests. Sometimes when English-speaking guests came, our bosses would tell us to come do a little translation. I did that. I worked at a school for Japanese teachers. So the Japanese teachers would practice teaching Japanese to me, and then I would grade how easy it was to understand, kind of thing. I also worked at like the local Japanese election, and they thought it would be too weird if I actually did the important jobs there. So instead of having me mark down what people's votes were, they just had me greet people at the door. I also did I did a little mini acting also. The Kyoto government came by the school that we were at, and they asked for foreigners who, specifically they asked for foreigners who were from Asian countries or Latin countries for a film that they were doing to promote some sort of culture thing, but only I put my hand up, so they said, no, you can't do it, and then they came back later and said, actually, can you please be the main character in the thing? So I did that also. A ton of different stuff all over the board. That was really fun, but yeah. When I did Japanese for the first time, I did Basic 1, Basic 2, Intermediate 1, and Intermediate 2 through the Model Language Department here at Douglas. And that got me like a really solid base of language. So from that base, when I went to Japan, I was able to take higher level courses than just like the low level beginner that a lot of people normally do. And while I was there, since I loved studying language anyways, I was just studying and working hard, and also just talking to friends and meeting people and working and just experiencing life the whole time I was there. And by the time I got back, the amount my Japanese level increased was insane, and it got me a lot of opportunities later in life, like the job I have right now, largely in part of the fact that I can speak Japanese, and also because I had that study abroad experience. I've also gotten to meet a lot of cool people. Like I've been back to Japan since my study abroad. I went on a second study abroad through a different university as well, because they couldn't keep me away. And because I already spoke Japanese at the level I do, I was able to meet some like actors and comedians and stuff like that, just because I'm the foreigner who speaks Japanese at a high level, so you can say the funny stuff and ask all the questions you want about Canada, kind of thing. So yeah, that was the language ability I gained was the biggest thing, and then from that language ability and from the experience of being abroad, from the language ability and experience abroad that I had, all the experiences I had later on were the other biggest thing I gained. But yeah, it all came from going abroad first and getting that language ability from being there. Any advice I have for people who are thinking of going abroad, I guess the biggest thing is just having an open mind when you go. So not having set expectations about the way things should be. Even if you do all your research and you think you might know the way people might react to the way you do something, or you might think you know like how people do things a certain way where you're going. Don't think that too strongly. You might see that things are different when you're there, or you might try out the thing that you thought was right and it's not right. And you don't have to feel bad about it. It's just you use that as a learning experience, which that's kind of just the way I am all the time. So I just took that way of thinking with me when I went abroad. And if you're going to Japan in specific, I would say even if you're not going to study any Japanese, because you don't have to, I would just recommend studying a little bit before you go. Really anywhere, if you're going somewhere where the main language is in English, I think you'll have a lot more fun and have a lot more opportunities if you just study a little bit. And like, not necessarily, you don't have to take a course at Douglas, even though I recommend it. So but if you study any sort of language before you go, it's just really helpful when you meet people and when people whose first language isn't English, like let's say you go to France and you speak a little French, you go to Spain, speak a little Spanish, go to China, speak a little Chinese. They're really grateful that you even tried to study their language, which is really endearing to people and helps you meet people and make a good impression. So even just doing that, I recommend. Before I went to Japan, I did take Japanese courses at Douglas. So as far as what helped prepare me for being in Japan that I found useful, a lot of it was what I learned in those courses. So when you're taking language courses, you don't just learn the language. Language and culture are intertwined. So while I was taking the courses, I learned things like if you invite a Japanese person to go do something, the way that they say no to you isn't going to be direct. When I was in Japan, and I was just there inviting everybody to hang out all the time. But some people are busy, and some people are, some people they don't want to hang out with me, which is fine. But knowing how to react to people not directly responding to me, and not just from invitations, from like anything, I learned not to expect that sort of direct communication. A lot of it's indirect, and that's not a bad thing. It's just the way Japanese culture is. But learning all that stuff about culture beforehand helped me a lot, because otherwise I probably would have been really annoying to people and made a lot less friends. Because even though I invited people and they said, yeah, maybe we'll see about later, and they meant no, I understood that and was able to, work with that, and then we were able to hang out later anyways. But if I just kept going for them, they probably would have been like, yo, this guy doesn't know the rules around here, where's he coming from? So yeah, that was probably one of the bigger things I learned. And it was in Japanese class at Douglas College. Everybody sign up now. Yes, I do it again. I did do it again. After I did my study abroad in Kyoto, and I furthered my studies at a university in Nova Scotia, while I was there, since I spoke Japanese and I was transferring credits from Japan, the international office I was at actually said, hey, you already speak Japanese and you have this experience abroad. Do you want to go study abroad again? And I said yes, and then they gave me a full ride scholarship to go study abroad in Japan a second time. So I did do it again, and now that I work at Douglas in the Global Engagement Department, and we have lots of partners and lots of opportunities coming up and in Japan, I'm going again to go check out some up-and-coming Japanese universities that we might make some programs at. And also at the same time, I'm going to go meet all the friends that I made while I was there the first 2 times. So yes, absolutely I would do it again. And I will do it again. And I won't stop doing it.